Apart from the laboratory test, there are many ways to identify the soil in field. Those are very much simple and you don't have to use the laboratory instruments and materials to identify the soils in field, as those materials and instruments or apparatus are not available in the field. We have to choose these means or these ways to identify the soil in field. Among the many of the tests those you can use in the field to identify the soil, there are some of them. Those are visual examination, dilatancy test, toughness test, and dry strength test. Now, visual examination is nothing but to identify the soil by seeing the soil sample or soil material. That is, if the soil sample is having most of the parts with coarse or big size particles, then obviously the soil may be classified as coarse grained soil or sandy soil. And if the soil is contained of fine grained particles or smaller particles, then obviously the soil may be classified as fine grained soil or clay soil. Sandy soil means coarse grained soil, and clay soil means fine grained soil. Okay. Now, if the soil is having most of the particles of coarse grain, then we can readily conclude that the soil is sandy or coarse grain soil. And if most of the particles of the soil sample is fine grain, then we can go for the next test. Those are dilucency test, toughness test, or dry strength test. Now, proceeding to the dilucency test. For this test, we have to get some soil that is with moderate water content, that is moderately wet soil. We have to take in our palm, and we have to shake the soil and squeeze it. After squeezing and shaking operation, some water will come out from the soil sample. and after waiting some time the water will disappear or absorb into the soil sample. Now depending on this operation we can classify the soil into three types, that is if the disappearance of soil of water into the soil is very quick, then the soil may be classified as silt. That means if the water that was coming out from the um, soil sample that disappeared quickly in no time, then the soil may be classified as silt. If the operation, that means the disappearance of water is taking some time, then taking some time means taking a lot of time, then the operation is slow, and in that case the soil may be classified as clay. And if there is no reaction, that means the water will not go into the soil or disappeared at all after a lot of time given, then also the soil may be classified as clay. Then also the soil may be classified as clay. That means if the person is weak, then that means sorry, water is absorbed quickly in no time. The water, if the person is low, that means water is absorbed after some time. Then also the soil may be classified as clay, and if the water is not absorbed at all, then also the soil may be classified as clay. That means the process of the operation is, first we have to take some wet soil, then shake and squeeze some water have come out, wait for some time. Okay. This is the total operation. That means you have to take some wet soil, that is moderately wet soil, and then shake the soil and squeeze it. After squeezing and shaking, obviously some water will come out, and you have to wait for some time to be the water will absorb. Okay, that is the process to test the soil if the soil is silt or clay by dilutancy test. Okay, now coming to the toughness test. In this test, we have to take some soil sample. After taking some soil sample, we have to roll it on your palm or on some glass plate. Roll it on your palm or on some glass plate after some time, uh, we'll see that some threads or some cracks, uh, after some time of rolling on the threads, we will see that some cracks will come in. That means cracks on the surface of the rolled threads. Rolled threads. Okay. Uh, that means on that point of time, the soil has reached its plastic limit. Actually, the soil is reached its plastic limits, and at that time, if you continue to rolling, then obviously the threads will crack. After that, you have to knead it again. After that, after making reach the soil to its plastic limits, you have to knead the soil again. That means you are putting some extra pressure. If after kneading, if you able to roll it again into threads, that means after putting some extra pressure, if you able to roll it into threads, roll into threads, then if you able to roll into threads, obviously that means the soil is having high plasticity. If the second type of this type of soil, if you may able to roll the soil into threads, but some cracks are again coming on the surface of the soil, then the soil is of moderate plasticity. If the soil cannot be rolled into threads at all, after putting more pressure, then obviously the soil is having low plasticity or low toughness. If the soil is having low plasticity, that means the soil is of low toughness. If the soil is having moderate plasticity, then obviously the soil is having moderate toughness. And in the next point, if the soil is having low plasticity, that means the soil is having low toughness. Okay. Now, sorry, this is high toughness. This is high plasticity means high toughness. Okay. Now, if the soil is having high toughness, then we may classify the soil as pure clay or tends to be pure clay. That means high amount of clay particles or fine grained particles are there. If the soil is rolled into threads but with some cracks on the surface, then the soil may be classified as the mixture of silt and clay. If the soil cannot be rolled into threads at all, then the soil may be classified as silt. Now, if there is some lack of toughness, or that means low toughness, then obviously the soil may be classified as silt, but it may be or with organic substance also. That means the soil is having some organic substance in it. That soil may be silt, maybe some soil mixture of organic substance. Okay, and if there is some organic substance, then you will feel some spongy feeling on your palm. Obviously, we have to classify these two types, that is, if it is silt or if it is the mixture of organic substance in the soil, that there is some other test. We will proceed to that. But before that, we have to describe the next test, that is dry strength test. Now, coming now for dry strength test, you have to take some soil. You have to dry the soil completely. That means total amount of water you have to evaporate from the soil by drying it in some oven. Dry it completely. Then, then you have to apply some pressure by your finger. If if the dried sample uh, may be powdered by applying little pressure from the finger, that means the dry soil sample is made powdered easily, then the soil may be classified as low dry strength soil. That means after drying it completely, you have to put some pressure by your finger. If the soil is powdered easily, then the soil is of low dry strength. If the soil is powdered, but obviously to make it powdered, uh, you have to put some pressure, then the soil may be classified as of moderate dry strength. And if the dried soil sample cannot be powdered at all, cannot be powdered at all, then the soil may be classified as of high dry strength. Cannot be powdered at all by putting some pressure, then the soil may be classified as high dry strength. Now, if the soil is of low dry strength, then the soil may be classified as silt. If the soil is having moderate dry strength, then the soil may be classified as mixture of silt and clay. If the dried soil cannot be powdered at all, then the soil may be classified as pure clay. Okay. Now coming to this part, that is, if the soil is having low plasticity, and obviously then the soil may be classified as silt or organic substance mixture. That means we have to classify the soil if the soil is silt or organic substance mixture. For that we have to go for some special test, that is acid test. Obviously, if there is some organic substance mixed in the soil, then you may have feeling of some spongy material. In that case, also you may easily find out if there is some organic substance or not. But to conclude firmly, you have to go for acid test. Sorry, the acid test is for not the organic soil substance, that is for calcium test. Okay, okay. For organic substance test, we have to go for some color and smell test. In color and smell test, uh, the color of the organic substance, if there is some organic substance mixed into the soil, then obviously the color will be dark, and there is some odor of organic substance. Or decomposed materials. If you heat up the soil sample, then this odor will intensify. This is the way you have to conclude if there is some organic material in the soil, or the soil is of silt material. Okay. Now, coming to the acid test. Acid test is the test to identify if there is some calcium material in the soil sample. Now, for this test, you have to take some soil, add some hydrochloric acid, concentrated hydrochloric acid into the soil sample. If there is some bubble coming from the soil sample, bubbles coming from the soil sample, then obviously that is for the reaction of calcium with concentrated hydrochloric acid, and in that case you may conclude that there is some calcium substance mixed with the soil sample, and that type of soil with calcium mixed with that will have some extra plasticity, and that is not for the characteristics of soil, but the characteristics of the cementing property of the calcium. That means if some bubbles are coming out after adding some concentrated HCl or hydrochloric acid, then you have to conclude that the soil is having calcium, and obviously that soil is not high plastic soil. The plasticity that may be generated in the soil, that is due to the presence of calcium, not the presence of clay particles. Okay, now Now, the last one is the sign test. This is one special type of test by which you can readily identify the soil if the soil is plastic clay or not. That means silt. In this test, you have to take some soil. Obviously, take some wet soil, lump. You have to take some wet soil lump and you have to cut the lump by a knife. If the cut surface is shiny, if the cut surface is shiny, then the soil may be classified as plastic soil or clay. If the cut surface is dull, if the cut surface is dull, then the soil may be classified as low plastic soil or silt. Okay, this is all about the tests those we can use to identify the soil in field without using some complicated materials or apparatus or instruments. These are tests we can use to identify field identification of the soil. Thank you.